So I come across some videos sometimes that are so ridiculous that I genuinely think they are a parody, a skit, a sketch, just fake, designed to farm engagement, because that's what a lot of posts seem to do these days. But this one that I saw this morning, it looks absolutely genuine. And I mean, it's really bizarre. It is of a police officer doorstepping somebody, again, appearing to be questioning them at the doorstep, which seems a common occurrence these days because people are filming it. But this time, not to question them about a crime. Specifically, it was quite clear about that. Not to question them about a crime. But apparently just for going near a hotel housing illegal migrants. So I'm going to play this video for you, and I'm going to come up with some sort of broad spectrum warnings for you, really, which I'm sort of cautious to say, and I really don't like the fact that we are here, but I really feel those cautions and warnings are necessary. So please do subscribe to the channel. We are flying towards 1 million subscribers. I think there's a lot of people out there want to know and hear the truth and discuss it openly and genuinely. So thank you for doing that. Let's take a look at this video and we'll have some general thoughts on it. Listen to this.
Yep.
So just wondering, did you attend that event?
Arcadia Court, yeah?
Yes. So, no, yeah?
Yes.
Great. So we're not investigating crime today.
So why are you here?
So just to confirm, you were there. So what was your intention there?
Well, because I just wanted to see what was going on there.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Because I wanted to see what was going on.
Right, okay. But
so why are you here? Can you explain to me why you're here?
Okay, so I'm not investigating a crime, I'm here investigating an incident.
Yep.
And I just want to work out what your purpose was there today.
So it's quite clear, and he repeats it a number of times, that he's not investigating a crime, but he was investigating an incident. Who knows what incident that was? I don't think he really says. But he's just investigating an incident, not a crime, and was wondering why this guy was there. Let's watch on.
I took my daughter there to show her the place because she walked past there.
Okay.
So to make her avoid that place, because I don't want her walking past them people.
Right, okay.
What are you doing here?
So what else?
Are you arresting me?
No. So that's as I said, so I'm not here to arrest you, I'm just here to chat with you at the moment.
Well, you're winding me up.
I'm not, what have I said to wind you up, sir?
Because I'm taking my daughter there for her own duty of care, her own protection, to show her to avoid the place.
Right, okay.
So there sounds like a valid reason, taking his daughter there to show her where it is so that she can avoid it. He's fulfilling a duty of care so that he's informing his daughter of where he may find that there's some risk to go. And most people, because of the news reports, etc., because of the prosecutions, most people will feel that this is a genuine, valid concern to tell your daughters where these places are, show them where they are so they can avoid going there. But this officer continues to question. I'm going to comment on that in just a moment, but keep watching.
Okay.
And you're here within what, 2 hours?
Okay, so it wasn't part of any protest or anything?
No.
No? Okay, so you took it, so just going to make sure I've got it. So you took your daughter there to show her to not go to the address?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other way you could have done that? Or?
Not really, mate.
Okay.
I can go where I want in my country, can't I?
Yeah, no, I'm not here to say that, sir.
Well, can you go? There's no point you being here, can you go?
I'm just trying to work out what's...
Well, I don't want you here.
That's fine, sir, I'll leave. I just want to make sure any safety concerns. So, are there any safety concerns that you have?
For children of Faversham, yes.
Okay, but so you're not a Faversham resident, is that correct?
I am, but I'm just here temporary, so...
Oh, you're here temporary, okay, yeah. So you are a Faversham resident?
Yeah, and I care about Faversham.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine, sir.
I don't like the fact that place is there and what they're doing there, and they're housing all these illegal immigrants.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what, you've actually searched my vehicle up, searched my address, and then come here?
Well, you got out, and did you speak to staff there at all?
No, she asked me what I was doing there, and I said I've just come to look where the immigrants are.
Right, okay.
I'm well within my right, being a British citizen, to go and do that.
Don't you have a video?
So you've gone there to... So what you told them about what you actually were doing was showing your daughter?
No, I said I was here to see where the immigrants are, my daughter.
So it starts to be a little bit clearer. So he's taken his daughter there with his car, presumably had got out. Someone there had asked him what he was doing there. He Presumably, it sounds like he told them that he was taking his daughter there to show them where it was so that she knows where it is, etc. It seems from what's been exchanged here that the officer then took the registration number from the lady that was there, presumably, looked it up, and obviously found it on the police records and come to this address to talk to him about it. Even though there's no crime, maybe it's an incident because, to be fair, we don't see what happened at this place, at this hotel. We don't see what happened. We don't see the exchange, the conversation, everything else. Maybe that's the incident that this officer is talking about, but there's no real details. Let's just finish this off.
She was sitting in the car.
Okay, but so you took your daughter there for the purpose of showing her that,
Yeah.
and then you've asked them.
I didn't know. She asked me what I was doing there.
Yeah, and you told them.
I'm not answering no more questions.
That's
No
okay.
more of your questions. I don't appreciate you being here.
That's right. So
And maybe you should go and treat other proper crimes this way.
right.
Go and react this way to proper crimes.
So the police do more than just crimes. We do incidents.
So what are you doing now?
So I'm in an incident, sir.
We'll go and deal with another incident, mate.
Okay, well, I'm just closing this
Right,
one.
go.
So I know the reason. So you told me the reason.
I've told you the reason. Now go.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to?
I don't want to talk to you about.
This sounds to me like such a waste of police resources, bearing in mind that the police services are underfunded as it is. The Met said that they have hundreds of millions of pounds underfunding, despite the fact that we've just agreed a contract to send £46 million to Lebanon to assist in improving their internal policing there in Lebanon. Despite the fact we've got underfunding here, and we have officers like this who, by his own admission, are not investigating a crime, just an incident. Now, an incident could be anything. Now, on the one hand, if this was a serious incident that may or may not involve a crime, you might understand that the officer's coming out to question somebody about it. You might actually get upset if they didn't do that. If there's been a serious incident like some kind of assault, then obviously you would want the police to be coming out and questioning people. But here's the problem. We do have situations like this. I can tell you, as a lawyer, as a barrister, I have had clients come to me, and even associates and people that I know have reported things to me. They've had mobile phone thefts, they've had car thefts, they've had all sorts of different things. They've had assaults, they've had various different crimes that they've wanted to report, and the police have flat out said they do not have the resources to deal with it. Even though in some cases there are tracked devices like phones and iPads. They know precisely where this device is in the vehicle. There's tracking in the vehicle. They know precisely where that vehicle is. And the police have said they don't have the resources to go to seek a warrant to go to the address to retrieve the vehicle. Knowing full well 100% it is pinpointed inside a garage at a particular address in a particular place, they don't have the resources to go and deal with it. So why on earth is this officer here, with the greatest respect, why on earth is this officer here talking about an incident when there is no crime, there's nothing at all really to speak of, and if there were, that it'd be more serious than that. The officer would be looking to arrest this guy for whatever he claims that he might have done. And so here I deem it necessary to sort of give you a bit of a warning, really, because let me talk to you about confessions. Now, confessions can be made at any stage. They are more powerful if they are done after you've been cautioned and you're being questioned by the police. So that warrants a bit of an explanation as to when the caution is required, because any question which is more than establishing who you are can be deemed to be an interview. And this is absolutely clear under PACE Code C, the Police and Criminal Evidence Act Code C. These are the practice codes which the police must comply with, else it may be deemed to be unfair, abuse of power and process, and so on and so forth. So under paragraph 10 of Code C, under cautions, when a caution must be given, a person whom there are grounds to suspect of an offence must be cautioned before any questions about an offence or further questions if the answers provide the grounds for suspicion are put to them if either the suspect's answers or silence, i.e. failure or refusal to answer satisfactorily, may be given in evidence to a court in a prosecution. A person need not be cautioned if questions are for other necessary purposes. For example, to solely establish the identity or ownership of a vehicle, to obtain information in accordance with the relevant statutory requirement, furtherance proper effective conduct of a search, to seek verification of written records, etc. Whenever a person not under arrest is initially cautioned or reminded that they're under caution, a person must at the same time be told that they are not under arrest but must be informed of the other provisions, etc. So again, if the questions are solely to establish identity or ownership of a vehicle or things like that, there's no need for a caution. But if a person is suspected of any kind of offence, now this officer did say he's not here to discuss a crime, so it still begs the question, why is he there? So let's call it an incident that may involve a crime or may be a suspicion of something to do with a crime. It's all a bit fluffy and not adequate, but nonetheless. But if this guy were suspected of anything at all to do with any wrongdoing of that whatsoever, then anything more than establishing his identity and so on really could be considered an interview for which a caution should be provided. And obviously, if it's a proper interview, it should be done ideally at a police station and then all that sort of stuff. So really, there's no real basis to be standing at the doorstep asking vague questions, making clear that it is not about a crime but about some incident. It's all just a bit vague to me. Now, bearing in mind the police caution, sometimes it is better to say nothing, because if you say, quote, the wrong thing, and I'm not saying lie to the police, what I'm saying is you may think that you're saying something that is better for you or the right thing to say, which might be the wrong thing. And in doing so, you may tie yourself up in some kind of offence, which you may not have been tied up in before. And remember the police caution. I think you should write it down. And this is why I say I'm sorry to say that I think I feel the need to say this to everybody. But I feel everybody needs to understand what this is, because if we have officers turning up questioning people over next to nothing, it would seem, then you really do need to understand what your rights are. And I think it starts with the police caution. Anything more than your name, you don't have to answer any questions. Unless you're under arrest, and even then you have the right to silence, but you are cautioned. And then the caution applies because it may harm your defense if you don't say something. So the caution is that you do not have to say anything. That's the first thing. You do not have to say anything. But it may harm your defense if you fail to mention when questioned something that you later rely on in court. And anything that you do say may be given in evidence. Now, if you're asked questions and you've not been cautioned, and that goes against you, then first of all, there's an argument and a question as to admissibility as to whether that can be used in court later, because it may have been obtained unfairly, without cautioning and so on. But also, very often that may make its way into evidence anyway, and the control of evidence is down to the judge. Even in the Crown Court, the control of evidence is down to the judge, and the jury is the finder of fact. And so whether or not what you say makes it in as evidence is entirely down to the judge. There'll be arguments for and against it, but by the by. But just bear in mind that anything you say may be used against you. And that's particularly problematic if that might amount to a confession. So then we have to look at what a confession really means, because most people think of a confession as being, you're right, fair cop, I did it, it was me. Most people think that that is a confession. And that's not strictly true, because under Section 82 of PACE, as defined elsewhere, a confession includes a statement wholly or partly adverse to the person who made it, whether made to a person in authority or not, and whether made in words or otherwise. So if, for example, a police officer came to the door and told you that someone had been attacked or a building had been attacked or something, and you, knowing that you didn't have anything to do with it, but you didn't care, and you just said, ha, good, and shut the door, you might think, whilst most people would probably agree that's not the right thing to say, you might think that was an innocent thing to say because it had nothing to do with you didn't admit to doing it, you weren't under caution, you weren't under arrest, and so on. So you might just think that's fine and shut the door. The next thing you might know, you're being arrested because you've said something which actually amounts to a confession, because it is at the very least partly adverse to you, the maker of the statement, because it's not a good thing to say in response to somebody being attacked or a building being attacked. Likewise, if you posted something like that on Facebook and said, good thing that happened to that person because I don't like that person, Again, most people would hopefully agree that that's the wrong thing to say, but you might think that it's innocent, but not understanding that that actually amounts to a confession. Likewise, when you're talking to an officer here, particularly where you're not under caution, you've no obligation to answer those questions, generally speaking, unless you are under caution, you are under arrest, and so on. Again, there's no obligation to respond to the questions, although it may harm your defense if you are being cautioned and so on. And generally, it may harm your defense if it is serious and you are later charged. There is a chance that it can harm your defense later, but mainly if you're under caution. But either way, there is still no obligation for you to answer those questions, particularly if they've come to your door. The best thing really to do is ask whether or not they are investigating a crime, whether you're under arrest, and if not, then you are at liberty to close the door politely. Bearing in mind that a lot of people misunderstand what an indictable offence means. Now, Section 17 of PACE provides the police powers to enter your property, and they can only do so if it involves an indictable offence. But indictable is not just something that is like, murder and those kind of really serious offences. It can include many malicious communications offences, for example, many offences that are either way, any offence that can be tried on an indictment, which means it's either in the magistrate's court or in the Crown Court. That means, for example, shoplifting, whilst it is ordinarily dealt with summarily at the magistrate's court, even for low-value shoplifting, this is one where a lot of law students sort of trip up. It is ordinarily dealt with at the magistrate's courts if it's under £200, but it remains an either-way offence. So if someone is charged with shoplifting, even low-value shoplifting, they still retain the right to elect a Crown Court trial because it's still an either-way offence, meaning it is an indictable offence. Not indictable only, obviously, murder, for example, is indictable only, but all either-way offences can be tried in either court, meaning they are indictable, meaning Section 17 gives the police powers to enter to arrest somebody on suspicion of that offence. They need reasonable grounds to show that it was right. You believing that it's a wrongful arrest isn't good enough to resist arrest. It might turn out that it was a wrongful arrest, but just you not believing that it's right is not grounds to resist at that point. But at the same time, if they do enter your property to arrest, then they are lawfully on the premises because they had a right to be there because they were entering for the purposes of arresting you. Remember my recent video about the pro bono case? I said that the power is there to enter the property for the purposes of arresting somebody, and then it follows there is a power to seize property that they believe might be connected with the offence under Section 19. So it is important to understand all of these things, but I would really recommend against getting into casual conversations with police at the doorstep, particularly when they are vague, because you might trip up and get yourself into some kind of strange trouble here. So it's all a bit strange, but I feel it necessary to warn people about what you might casually say to police officers if they just turn up at the door. I respect the police. You all know that. I've always shown my respect to police. They have a difficult job to do, but this really is not doing their reputation any favours. So I really don't quite know what to say about this. It looks and feels very much like a parody, but it isn't. I think it's very much genuine. And the last thing I'll say is clearly this officer had body-worn camera on here. If we can catch a little, there we go. It just came on. The little red lights that are on here show that the camera is recording. I would 100% be obtaining a copy of that body-worn camera by a data subject access request. There's templates online. You can Google it. You can send it, and they may charge you a small fee so long as it's reasonable to do so. But I would be insisting on a copy of that body-worn camera footage if any police officer came to the door. But let me know your thoughts and comments below. Please don't use this video as a launchpad to attack police, or certainly do not start sending them anything. I know some people have done, and I don't agree with that. I don't condone that. I don't encourage that. Certainly not abusive messages and all this sort of stuff. As I said, the police have a difficult job to do. Let's support them in doing it. But by doing so, I have to say that this doesn't appear warranted to me, because in his own admission, he's not investigating a crime. And in my view, that's what they really should be doing. That's all they really should be doing, not just incidents where nothing actually happened. For those, if there's a course of conduct, they can gather the evidence and they can do that later. If it becomes harassment, it needs to reach a certain threshold for each occasion, and then it might become harassment. But just turning up and looking at a place, as this guy said, showing his daughter where the place was, That doesn't cross any threshold for me. But those are just my observations. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you for watching.